Chapter 1. Alessio de Rossi on the rooftop of a 30-floor skyscraper. A man dined alone. Everything around him spoke luxurious, and he himself wore an all-black luxurious suit with a tie. He was eating a delicious meal, freshly made with fine details by himself. Only the sound of chewing could be heard other than the sound of wind blowing and ruffling his hairs. As the meal was close to finishing, the sound of the knife hitting the plate became more. Just when the man finished his meal, his phone rang. After wiping his mouth with a napkin, the well-dressed man answered the call. "Speaker." "Boss, the police have managed to find your location, and currently they are on their way to arrest you. You need to run now." Bang, bang, bang. Before the man on the other side of the call continued, sounds of gunshots being fired could be heard, and then there was no sound. Sigh. The man, Alessio de Rossi, held his phone in silence for a long time before silently breaking the phone in two pieces and throwing it down the building. Alessio was a mafia boss, currently on the run from the governments of many countries in the world for the crimes he committed and the lives he took. He was born in a third-world country where empty stomachs forced him to join local gangs. Hunger. Those who have never felt it will never understand its horror. For Alessio, it became the only thing driving him forward. When he was on the verge of starving, with no home, family, or anything to his name, he killed a man for a piece of bread. Seeing a kid no more than 9 years old repeatedly stab a man just for the bread impressed those gang members standing in that shadowy alley. One of them took him seriously and introduced him to their leader. That's how the crime life of Alessio, a starving child, started. He kept on becoming more and more powerful within the gang and eventually took it over. He killed as many as possible to make sure no resistance was left in every step of his journey. Eventually, he became the boss of the biggest mafia of the world, built on thousands of dead bodies and millions of victims. His childhood experiences shaped him into the man he was today. Even though his edge has dulled after reaching the top, it does not erase the fact that he was the most wanted man alive in the world currently. Alessio waited on the top floor, leaning against the balcony of the rooftop of the skyscraper, as sounds of police sirens and helicopters kept ringing in the whole city, aware of the fate that awaited him. And the wait did not last long, as numerous armed policemen started pouring through the door of the terrace. One officer among them came forward, filled with emotions clearly at what might be the biggest arrest in more than a decade in the world. "Tell me, Officer Brian, are you excited about the promotion and medals alongside honor and fame you will be rewarded soon?" Alessio smilingly asked the officer who had been on his tail for 10 years if he remembered correctly. Officer Brain kept silent for a long time before asking the questions burning in his mind ever since he took on the task of capturing this man. "Can you tell me why you did it?" "To what exactly are you referring to, officer? There are many things I have done in this life of mine." Alessio chuckled, finding the question funny. "You had enough money before you went after every other criminal organization you could find and leaving bodies after bodies in your wake. You could have lived your life like a king in a small country with nothing to worry about. But you chose to spread your mafia in every corner of the world you could find. You kept on making enemies for no reason, and you made yourself the most famous criminal in every country you entered. Why?" Officer Brian could not understand why a man who had everything in his small country, where even the government could do nothing against him, would eventually just walk closer and closer to his own death. Alessio laughed for a while, then he regained his bearings and looked at the officer in front of him seriously. "Tell me, officer, have you ever seen a small child starving for food, in a situation where he would do anything for it? I understand where you are calm. Have you?" Alessio interrupted the officer before he could start bullshitting about morals. "No, The officer replied after staying silent for some time. I have been that child for the first 9 years of my life, and do you know the most important thing I learned during that time? Without waiting for Officer Brain's answer, Alessio continued. There is no such thing as enough. Hunger drives you to snatch everything possible, and you never know when it will be the last you can have. And so I did. I snatched everything I could get my hands on, keeping it for my own, and kept on doing it till I had what you might call enough. Officer Brian kept being silent, continuing to listen to him, knowing this man could not get away tonight. And there was one more thing I realized after that. Human greed knows no bounds, and I happen to be one such human myself. Alessio chuckled as he finished what he had to say to the officer. He decided to be generous enough to answer the man who had spent so long trying to catch him. Brian was appalled by the man calling himself human after committing the most heinous of crimes possible. You dare call yourself human after everything you've done? What about the people you shattered, the wives you left without husbands, the children robbed of their fathers, the mothers who buried their sons because of your greed? Sigh, people and their moral preaching never stop. Alessio sighed in his mind, looking at the man in front of him, continuing to speak agitatedly. They never care when children starve themselves to death. They never show compassion to beggars. They never help anyone else as they keep minding their own business. And yet, when the so-called privileged people are hurt, their morality starts awakening. He understands clearly why only he was being hunted by all the countries, when there were many other big mafia bosses and criminal organizations out there in the world. Them, he gave a lazy tilt of his head, eyes gleaming cold. A smirk spread as he leaned in. You think I give a damn? As soon as he finished speaking those words, he jumped off the railings of the terrace. All the policemen gathered, including Brian, tried to stop him, but he was already falling down the high building. When Officer Brian managed to get close to the railing, he saw Alessio falling down, hands spread, with a wide smile on his face as his eyes remained closed. He looked as if he was relishing every last moment he could get to breathe, before succumbing to his ultimate end. And that's how the life of Alessio de Rossi, the most wanted mafia boss in the world, came to an end. Or did it? Damian Valcor was having a hard time sleeping. Tomorrow, the results of the entrance examinations for the awakened academies would be announced, results that would decide his future. These examinations were humanity's new rite of passage. In the old world, there had been college entrance exams. Now, they determined whether one could join an awakened academy. Dozens existed across the globe, but only one stood at the pinnacle. Stormhold Academy, the first and greatest of them all, built by the most powerful awakened in history. Its purpose was to forge a generation capable of holding back the storms of monstrosities pouring from the portals and protecting humanity. When the portals first opened, humanity had been slaughtered to the brink of extinction. To survive, the Earth Federation, the fragile government formed from the remnants of old nations, declared 15 to be the new age of adulthood. Although humanity took complete control of Earth after they stabilized themselves, portals never closed. Every once in a while, few more portals open up anywhere and cause a lot of death and destruction if not prepared in advance. Once they reach adulthood, every child, without exception, would undergo entrance examinations. If their talent was enough, they would join an academy and become a weapon for humanity's survival. And now it was Damian's turn. He shifted restlessly on his bed, exhaling a long sigh. No use worrying. I should have done enough to get into Stormhold. The rest is up to fate. He closed his eyes. And then the pain struck. It began as a sharp throb, then spread like fire tearing through his skull. His vision swam and his breath hitched. He clutched his head as agony overwhelmed him. The scream ripped from his throat, echoing through the quiet house. Moments later, his door burst open. Damie! His mother, Damian Valcor, rushed to his side, cradling his trembling body in her arms. Tears streamed down her face as she rocked him desperately. What's happening to him, Alaric? Her husband, Alaric Valcor, stepped forward with steady composure, though his clenched fists betrayed his fear. He placed a glowing hand on Damian's forehead, scanning his body with practiced precision. His body's fine. No injuries, no internal disruption. Perhaps he is just having a nightmare. Nightmare? Lyandra's voice cracked with fury. Does this look like a nightmare to you? Look at him, he's in agony. Alaric faltered. He had no answer. Then, Arg! Damian stirred, clutching his head, still numb with pain. His eyes fluttered open and confusion washed across his face. Baby, what happened? Lyandra's voice trembled as she cupped his cheeks. Tell Mommy who hurt you. I swear I'll make them pay tenfold. But Damian only stared at her and then at Alaric. His lips parted. Who are they? Where am I? Memory clashed with memory. A rooftop, a fall, the rush of air before the end, his final moment as Alessio, the ruthless Mafia boss who had ruled through blood and fear. But now, no, I'm not Alessio, I'm Damian Valcor, a student. And yet, the truth hit him like a storm. He wasn't just Damian anymore. He carried both names, both lives, bound together in one body. He looked again at the woman holding him, her black hair streaked with tears, and at the man whose calm mask could not hide the tremor in his fists. Recognition bloomed with undeniable clarity. I am Damian Valcor, he whispered. His parents froze. The words were strange in themselves, but the tone was also weird. The voice felt completely different, normal. Lyandra's eyes widened and Alaric's frown deepened. And then Damian spoke again. Mother, father, I seem to have awakened my previous life's memories. The room fell silent. Alaric broke it first, his voice low, uncertain. You're joking. No, look at his eyes and his face, Lyandra murmured, her voice trembling. This isn't a joke. Damian shook his head slowly. I'm sorry, I know this sounds insane. My mind is filled with these sudden rush of memories. Please give me until morning. I just need some time to process this. For a long moment, Alaric looked as though he might protest. But Lyandra placed a hand on his arm and drew Damian into a fierce embrace. You can have all the time you need, she whispered against his hair. Just remember you're my son, always. Without waiting for an answer, she guided her husband out of the room. The door shut softly behind them. Silence returned to the room. Damian stood before the mirror, staring at his reflection. A boy of 15, with sharp features, crimson eyes, and dark red hair. Neither handsome nor plain, but with an edge that set him apart. He smirked faintly. Now that I have these memories in my mind, I have to say, I'm really handsome in this life. Far more handsome than Alessio. His eyes hardened. But this world seems completely different from the world of my past life, and yet it feels so familiar. A memory surfaced in his mind of an old tattered book with the smell of rot and ink. The only novel he had ever seen as a starving child, read aloud by a beggar in exchange for food. He couldn't recall much of the story, only some fragments, but this world, its academies, its awakened, its monsters, it all resonated like déjà vu. From what I remember, that old man only emphasized the world and its dangers alongside some interesting things. I don't know anything about the main characters of the novel, but I know for sure the current me is not one of them. It is safe to assume I'm just some random guy in the novel, he muttered. He tried recalling the details of the novel, but it was so long ago that he didn't even remember the names of the main characters. Forget it, all I need to know is that this world is dangerous, and danger is something I know all too well. He raised his hand. His voice carried the weight of command. Status. A translucent screen flickered into existence. Name Damian Valcor. Age 15. Rank F. Talent B right arrow S. Core attributes. Strength 9. Speed 8. Stamina 9. Vitality 10. Aura 0. Will 3 right arrow 120. Skills. Shooting C+. Hand combat B. Weapon arts. Damian's breath deepened. Then it became steadied after some time as his lips curved into a wolfish grin. So it was true. This world wasn't ruled by politicians or kings. It was ruled by strength, by those willing to take what others could not. Power isn't granted, he murmured. It's taken, and I've had a lifetime of practice. His chuckle began low, building, swelling into unrestrained laughter that filled the room. Ha 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 ha, ha. It was the laughter of a man reborn. The laughter of a predator who had just discovered the perfect hunting ground. After Damian calmed down, he looked at his status screen again, taking note of how his talent had increased from B to S, and his will stat had jumped from 3 to 120. He could understand why his will had risen, considering he had now regained his past life's memories. Looking at his previous talent of B rank, it seemed that his hunch that he wasn't one of the main characters of the novel was true. But he didn't understand why his talent had increased, or even what really determined talent in the first place. Before he could delve further into it, a wave of fatigue washed over him. Today has been a long day. Getting used to these memories will take time. Let's just get some rest for now. Tomorrow will be a long day again. He took his pillow, laid down on the hard surface of the floor, shut his eyes, and soon fell asleep. What Damian didn't realize was that this was how Alessio used to sleep. It seemed he had gained more than just his past memories. The next morning, Damian woke up and quickly took a shower. When he opened his closet to find something decent to wear, he realized nothing there suited his taste. The clothes which he found perfectly fine till yesterday now seemed rather irksome. Eventually, he found a sleek black suit with matching shoes. After dressing up and styling his hair, he gave himself one last look in the mirror before leaving his room. As he walked downstairs toward the dining table in the large Valcor estate, Damian couldn't help but reflect on how fortunate he was in this life. From the moment he could remember, his parents had showered him with immense love. The love he had never once experienced in his past life as Alessio. That made it all the more precious now. He had always known he was adopted. His crimson eyes and red hair stood out too much from his parents' features for it to be otherwise. But he never cared. The love they gave him was real and equal to the love they gave their daughter, his younger sister. Yes, in this life, he had a sister as well. It almost felt as though fate, or perhaps God, was compensating him for the misery of his previous existence. According to his parents, Damian was their lucky charm. For years, Alaric and Leandra had tried and failed to conceive a child. The moment they adopted Damian, Leandra became pregnant with Luna. To their shock, soon after, both Alaric and Leandra advanced to rank a one after the other. Now that I think about it, I really am their lucky charm, Damian chuckled as he stepped into the dining room. But the moment he entered, he paused. All 3 members of his family were already seated, their faces tense. When they noticed him approaching, their expressions shifted to open shock. What? Damian raised an eyebrow at their stares as he sat at his usual place. It was as if a spell broke. Their eyes lit up as they looked him over from head to toe. Damie, you look so handsome, Leandra exclaimed, her face beaming with pride. This hairstyle suits you, kiddo, Alaric added with a thumbs up and a rare grin. Thanks, Mom. Thanks, Dad. Damian smiled lightly, Relieved they hadn't brought up his talk of past life memories from last night, his gaze shifted to his sister. Luna Valcor was the picture of grace. She had inherited her mother's flowing black hair and her father's striking silver eyes. Sweet and affectionate by nature, she had always been adored by everyone who met her. But right now, she simply stared at him with wide eyes, a faint blush on her cheeks. When Damian's gaze met hers, she flinched and quickly looked away. "BR brother, you look good," Luna mumbled shyly before pretending to focus on her food. "Thank you, Luna," Damian chuckled at her reaction. She had grown shyer around him as they got older, though he still remembered the days when she clung to him constantly, even refusing to sleep without him nearby. The memory only deepened his fondness for her now. They ate breakfast together, but the conversation quickly turned to the topic they had all been waiting for. "Brother, have you received any notification yet?" Luna asked, her earlier shyness fading into curiosity. "Relax," Alaric replied before Damian could answer. "It's still 10 minutes before the Federation releases the results." His calm tone radiated quiet confidence. "Yes, don't worry, darling. Your brother will definitely get into a good academy," Lyandra chimed in, smiling brightly. "I'm not worried, Mother, I was just asking," Luna pouted, but her faith in Damian was absolute. Damian merely smiled at their chatter. The warmth of this scene wrapped around him like a blanket. Yet beneath his calm expression, darker thoughts stirred. 40 years of memories crammed into the mind of a 15-year-old. Although I feel a little detached from reality, one thing is certain. His eyes grew cold for a moment, a ruthless gleam flashing within them. "Anyone who dares threaten this family will die a horrible death." The air in the dining room chilled. His parents felt it, their instincts tightening. But just as quickly as it came, the atmosphere softened as Damian closed his eyes again. Both of them exchanged uneasy glances but said nothing. Even Luna seemed aware of the subtle changes in her brother since last night. 10 minutes passed. Damian's communicator beeped. "Beep, beep." He calmly opened the notification. "Congratulations, Mr. Damian Valcor. You ranked 987 in the entrance examinations and are qualified to join any academy you desire." Damian raised an eyebrow. "Not bad, considering my talent was only at B rank during the exams." Stormhold Academy only accepted the top 2,000 examinees, and Damian had secured his spot. In fact, considering how much weight talent carried in the scoring, that was nearly 40%. His result was impressive. Most top scorers had started with A rank or higher talent. As Damian considered this, more notifications flooded in. Beep beep. Beep beep. His communicator vibrated non-stop, with invitations from prestigious academies across the Federation. "How is it?" Lyandra asked, her voice brimming with excitement despite her attempt to appear calm. Damian smiled faintly and handed the device to her. His parents leaned in eagerly, and their eyes lit up as they read the screen. "I knew it." Luna shot up from her chair, hugging her brother tightly in excitement. Lyandra clapped her hands together in delight. Even Alaric's reserved face cracked into a proud grin. After hugging him for some time, Luna moved away from Damian again, her face filled with a strong blush as she ran to her room fast before anyone could say anything. I need to use the washroom tilde. She was mortified by her own reaction and was too embarrassed to stay in the dining room. Damian chuckled as he looked at her while shaking his head. Then he moved his gaze back to his communicator, which was still ringing with invitations from all sorts of academies. Then his gaze fell on a message from Stormhold Academy with the title Special Invitation. "Mr. Damian Valcor is hereby invited to further his studies at Stormhold Academy. Your excellent performance in the theory examinations has been noted by the Academy, distinguishing you from the rest of the eligible students." If you choose to join, please accept the invitation. Further information will be provided upon confirmation. Congratulations." Damian's crimson eyes gleamed as he read the words, "Next." As Damian finished reading the message, he was surprised because not everyone who ranked in top 2,000 received an invitation from Stormhold Academy. They would have to apply and then wait to be accepted. Although the top 2,000 had a 100% chance of being accepted, many chose to join other academies as well. After all, even though the Stormhold Academy was the strongest, after so many years, many prestigious academies were catching up as well, especially the ones backed by powerful families. Then he shrugged his shoulders, not thinking much why the academy sent him an invitation. "Damie, you have received invitations from other prestigious academies as well, and they are as good as Stormhold Academy now. Most importantly, they are not filled with much danger." Lyandra voiced out in a voice filled with worry, after looking at the invitations from so many academies. "Yes, kiddo, we are very happy with the fact that you achieved very good results by ranking so high. But you have to understand that while Stormhold Academy is really strong, and most of the powerful rankers were once their alumni, it is also the only academy where students have a chance of dying. Unlike other academies who believe in first letting the students develop, Stormhold's ideology remains the same as when the world was in its most dangerous time." Alaric also opened his mouth, but instead of worry, he explained the effect his choice of academy would have on him. He continued with his calm voice, "Although they don't necessarily put the children in harm's way, it is a fact that every year many students who enroll there will die of various causes, whether it be from monsters inside the portals or through other people's hands." Damian maintained his calm as he looked towards the solemn faces of his parents. Then, while remaining seated, he leaned back on his chair, put one leg over the other, and rested his tilted head on his right hand supported by the armrest of the chair. He smiled before saying, "Mom, Dad, I know Stormhold Academy would not be completely safe, but is there any place in our world that is guaranteed a safe haven? Ever since portals opened, war has been raging throughout our planet. Even though we repelled the invasion of the beings inside the portal, it doesn't change the fact that portals never closed and our fight never really ended. Although I don't know much, I can somewhat guess what the situation of our world is like. It is in a very delicate balance that can break any time. Even the strongest beings are not really safe when the whole world can be compromised in the next second." Lyandra and Alaric continued listening with complex emotions, looking at their son who was behaving more and more mature and different from what they remembered. After pausing for some time, Damian continued with a serious face. "I understand clearly what going to Stormhold will mean. I understand the dangers of the monsters very well. As for the dangers from fellow humans, let's just say I am not the same Damian as of yesterday." By the time he finished speaking whatever he had to say, a cold look was already present in his eyes. His parents exchanged glances before thinking. Indeed, their son had changed a lot after gaining his memories. They were both relieved, and had a sense of loss as they found their son seemed to have lost his usual innocent nature. But they could feel it, he was still their son. He still looked at them with the same love, maybe even more after yesterday. "All right, Damie, you can make the decision of the academy on your own. We will support whichever academy you choose to join." In the end, Lyandra made the choice of leaving everything to Damian, who was more than capable of deciding what is best for him. "Is there anything you need from us, kiddo?" Alaric wasn't much of a talker, but looking at his face, it was obvious his thoughts were the same as his wife, so he only asked his son if there was anything he needed from them. Damian pondered for some time. "Well, I do feel uncomfortable with nothing to defend myself. Dad, can you get me a gun and the license to carry it? He opened his mouth without any hesitation. A gun, but it is too predictable to see the bullets coming, and their power is not strong if the one who wields them does not have much control over his aura. Alaric was confused by the choice of weapon his son asked. Just give it to him and stop doubting our son. Remember, there are also many powerful shooters among the Awakeners who can control the trajectories of their bullets. And I am sure he will be able to control his aura perfectly fine. Lyandra pouted while giving an angry look at her husband. It was rare their son ever asked something, and here he was questioning his choices. Sigh, but they are people who have strong control over their willpower and practice for years before gaining mastery over it. All right, all right. I will get them by the end of today. Glancing at his angry wife, Alaric smiled sheepishly while touching his forehead. Looking at the actions of his parents, Damian chuckled before he opened his mouth. I will train in the training room for today. Now that I am about to enter academy, I can finally start my breathing exercises and training for aura generation. Ah yes, go ahead, but make sure to eat something and rest on time. Also, remember to accept the invitation from the academy before starting your training. If you don't understand anything, you can ask us. Lyandra said, excitedly filled with joy, now that her son can finally start advancing in rank. I will call you when I have your license and gun with me. After he finished speaking, Alaric left the house and Lyandra went to do her own things. Damian then picked up his communicator and opened the message from Stormhold Academy before accepting their invitation without any hesitation with a cold face. I hope I won't be disappointed. After accepting Stormhold Academy's invitation, Damian went straight to the training room and closed the door. The training room was filled with many intensive training equipment and machines. His parents were both high rankers and were very powerful, so the training room designed for their use was more than enough for his own requirements. In the center of the room was a meditation mat, where breathing practices could be done comfortably. Damian went ahead and sat on it without wasting much time. For the first time since he regained his past life's memories, he had time to really think and process everything. Is my world really just a novel? No, I don't know what is happening right now, and how I even managed to gain my memories in the first place. But there is just no way that my whole life was just a stupid novel. One day maybe I will get my answers, but worrying about all this now will gain me nothing. With that thought, Damian put aside all these useless thoughts. I don't know why the Federation only wants students to start doing breathing exercises and training only after accepting an invite or joining an academy. They even went as far as to make it a law. Anyways, before starting breathing exercises, maybe I should do some training first and work on getting familiar with my body. Ever since gaining his memories, he always felt like his control over the body was not like before. It is only natural considering in those memories, he had the body of an adult, and right now he was in the body of a teenager. Although the memories only took a few moments to settle in, it felt as though he had lived an entire lifetime in those moments. He was more used to being Alessio than his own self. Right now, it seemed he was neither Damian nor Alessio, but someone who was a mix of both. Alessio never allowed himself to have weaknesses, while Damian was a child who loved his family. He was becoming something new. Damian changed into his training clothes that he got from his room while on his way to the training room. He first started his training with a light jog on the treadmill. After running for some time, he shifted his focus to the training equipment and machines. His goal was to make himself used to his own body and gain complete control over his body. So he planned on training each and every muscle in his body till he feels completely in control. Training went on for a long time, and before he knew it, Damian's clothes were already soaked with his sweat. Huff, huff, I finally feel a little familiar with my body. I guess I should start my breathing exercise now. He panted as he finally stopped training and sat on the meditation mat and focused on his breathing. Breathing exercise was taught to everyone in school, but they were forbidden from practicing it before joining an academy. Having accepted Stormhold Academy's invitation, Damian could now finally practice it. These exercises were used to generate aura in a person's body and help them form a core where all the aura could be stored. As he focused his breathing as per the breathing exercise, Damian soon found out he could see inside his body and manipulate his breath to some extent using his mind. Maybe it is due to my willpower being so high with this, I can form my core even faster. He saw how his body started taking in the aura spread around in the air and making it his own. Those aura particles flowed along his breath inside the body and became concentrated below his navel. He noticed how these particles resembled sparks of bright light, but as soon as they entered his body, they became reddish-black in color. It was said that the color of a person's aura is completely based on the person himself. Their essence was reflected through its color. Damian didn't know why his aura was a dark shade of reddish-black, but he didn't focus much on that thought as he kept his concentration completely on his breathing exercise. Soon a small dark red core was formed inside his body, and all the aura was now getting generated inside it. Phew, it's finally done. I have officially awakened. He was filled with joy, feeling the aura coursing throughout his body, making him feel as though he were on drugs. It was addictive. This power, he wanted more of it. A grin formed on Damian's face as he reveled in his aura for some time. Now let's see my status. Name: Damian Valcor. Age: 15. Rank: F. Talent: S. Core attributes: Strength: 9 right arrow 12. Speed: 8 right arrow 13. Stamina: 9 right arrow 15. Vitality: 10 right arrow 20. Aura: F. Will: 120. Skills: Shooting: C+. Hand combat: B. Aura control: E. Weapon arts. Looking at the improvement in his stats, he was already far more powerful physically than he was in his past life, where no human could break past their limits. He noticed how his aura stat also changed from 0 to F. It seems I gained a new skill, aura control. From the name itself, I guess everyone who has aura core must have it. He saw how he already had aura control at E rank, even though his core was only at F rank. It's probably due to will stat being high. It seems willpower is very important. The benefits might not be direct, but it might indirectly be far more useful than it seemed. By the time Damian came out of the training room, it was already dark. No wonder I feel so hungry. It is already dinner time. He rushed straight to the dining room, where as always his family was gathered before him. Unlike the morning, the room was filled with a joyous atmosphere. Sorry for being late. I was training and didn't keep track of my time. Damian apologized while taking his seat. His parents and sister put aside the conversation they were having and focused on him. Start eating before the food gets more cold, Damie. Lyandra exclaimed, as she remembered her son didn't even have his lunch. She continued, I told you in the morning to eat your food on time. I know you might be excited about the future, but you should not forget to take care of your body. Lyandra kept on nagging her son, while Damian kept apologizing and promising her that he would be more mindful in the future. Alaric and Luna just kept smiling and pitching in the conversation too from time to time. The room was filled with a familial atmosphere during dinner, and Damian was starting to relax himself and fit in as usual. Sigh, I wonder why a person like me even got this second chance. After the dinner finished, Damian quietly stood up as his family continued their conversation and chores. He went straight to the training room again, but as soon as he was about to close the door, a hand stopped it from closing. Alaric stood there smiling. "Let me in, kiddo." Damian let his father enter the room and watched as he closed the door. "Everything all right, Dad?" He was confused as to why his dad came to talk with him at this moment. "What? Don't tell me you don't even remember what you asked me to get you this morning." Alaric smiled mischievously as he looked at his son. "You mean?" "Yes, I got your license and gun with me." "But where is it? Your hands are empty." Damian's brows were tightly locked. This was the reason why he was confused. He didn't forget the request he made to his father this morning. He was just confused because he saw him enter empty-handed. "Kiddo, it seems you are still not back to normal yet. Your mother and I use space rings, remember?" Alaric knew that getting those memories suddenly would have its side effects, so he remained patient and understanding towards his son. He and his wife had already made the decision to not bring the topic of his memories deliberately. They wanted him to take his time and deal with everything slowly. As a family, all they can do in this situation is to act like they did normally. Yes, sorry about that, Dad. I'm still not used to our world a little. To be honest, everything feels nostalgic, and everything about the magical side of our world is like a new experience once again." "It's all right, kiddo. Take your time. You are doing good so far. I don't know if I would be able to stay as calm as you if I went through something like this." He chuckled a little, before waving his hand and letting a box appear in his hand through his space ring. "Here, this box has your gun and license alongside the bullets in which you can fill your aura. There are also some normal bullets and rubber bullets for your practice. But you can also try filling your aura inside the aura bullets and get used to it. I know you have already formed your aura core." Alaric smiled as he gave the box to Damian, who remained shocked by how his father even found out about him forming the core. He had not used aura when he was having dinner with his family, and even his mother didn't notice anything special. "How did you find out?" Damian could not help but voice out his doubts. Confusion spread across his face again. Let's keep it a secret, just like you have your own secrets for forming your core in such a short time. I have some of my own too." Alaric gave a mischievous laugh as he winked at his son and left the training room. He was surprised as to how his son managed to form his core so fast. But he didn't want to question him and put him on spot. Secrets related to your powers should be known to as few people as possible. Damian stood speechless for a long time after Alaric left. He was supposed to be the one behaving differently after gaining those memories. But his father was the one who suddenly became mysterious in his eyes. And more importantly, since when did he start teasing me like that? Forget it, just like Dad said, everyone has their own secrets. It is a good reminder to never be overconfident in this world. We never know what the capabilities of our enemies can be. Damian's expression became somewhat solemn. He knew he needed to change his mentality that was still stuck in the common sense of his previous world. This Earth was not his old Earth. He stood there reflecting and setting his thoughts straight. After some time, he moved his focus towards the box his father left. Opening the box, Damian instantly fell in love with the black gun that was placed inside it neatly. The gun was placed inside a black holster. It had silver engravings on it and was made of a material that he didn't recognize. Holding the gun in his hand, it felt a bit heavy but comfortable. Its barrel was rectangular, and below the grip, there was a place to insert the magazines. If there was one word Damian could use to describe the gun, then it was beautiful. There was also a license card placed inside the box with his name on it. He immediately put it inside the space of the holster. Looking at the magazines placed inside the box, He put the extra 2 in the space provided in the holster and took one of them and filled it with rubber bullets. He took his aim without focusing much on the target placed inside the room and started shooting. Bang, bang, bang. He went close to the target and saw those 3 bullets with each being stuck to its head, heart, and private part. Still got it. Damian was pleased with his precision. Although he saw the shooting skill in his status, he wanted to make sure if his skills were the same as his previous life. I can already shoot with near-perfection accuracy. Wonder what the higher levels of shooting skill will mean. I remember Mom talking about changing the trajectories of the bullets when scolding Dad in the morning. Maybe it is done with the help of controlling things with our mind. And the mind will surely be related to willpower. More powerful the willpower, more powerful the mind. Let's see if my will stat is enough to manipulate things with my mind. Without waiting a moment, he started focusing his mind on the bullet whenever he clicked the trigger. And the result was a massive failure. Talk less about manipulating. His thoughts could not keep up with the speed of the bullet itself. Sigh, I'm still new to all this. Let's first try manipulating a still object. After spending hours, Damian finally managed to move a bullet placed on the ground a little. Finally, he spent the entire night focusing on manipulation and getting used to filling the aura bullets with his aura. And before he knew it, the morning sun was already out. Knock, knock. Brother, Mom and Dad went to work saying something urgent came up. Can you give me a ride to the school? As Damian was focusing on the bullet in front of him with bloodshot eyes, the voice of his sister came from outside the door. Damian freshened up and dressed in his suit. He went straight to the garage where his sister was already waiting for him in her school uniform, holding both their helmets. Catch the keys. Luna threw the keys of the bikes to Damian, who caught it and took his helmet from her. He was too exhausted from last night's training, so without wasting any words, he wore the helmet and started the bike. Luna also sat behind him and wore her own helmet. As they were en route to Luna's school, she hugged him tightly from behind. Brother, you can stop your acting when you are with me. I promise to not judge you and will treat you the same. Is it that obvious? Damian replied in a low voice. I don't know if it is obvious to Mom and Dad, but I can see through you easily. Luna hugged him even more closely as she continued speaking, unlike her usual shy self. I know my brother better than himself, or the brother from yesterday. Your behavior has changed a lot since this morning. Mom and Dad told me everything about your memories. But I can see more from your eyes. They reflect coldness from time to time. The way you carry yourself now, radiating that innate confidence, it is unlike your usual self where it was a bit forceful. It is even more attractive. Her voice became as soft as a mosquito's voice by the time she finished. Damian didn't hear her last words, but he was a bit surprised by her sudden closeness. She was behaving just like when she was younger. He smiled a little inside his helmet. Yeah, I was trying to make it easier for all of us and for myself too. By acting like how I used to be, I find it easier to adjust. Be careful, brother. At this rate, you might develop an acting skill. Damian and Luna laughed among themselves as they reached their destination. You go to your class, I want to see my teachers. Damian parted ways with Luna and went to meet his former teachers, to inform them about his results and express his gratitude for their help. As he was walking through the quiet hall, his mind was still on his training when suddenly panic voices started coming from a distance. What followed was a loud explosion near him. Boom! Damian was thrown back against the wall by the blast. His head hit the wall harder, and his ears started ringing. All he could see was whiteness. Arg! When he regained his vision, he saw numerous armed low-rankers dressed in black clothes pointing their weapons at the crowd. The blast earlier had made a large hole through the side wall. Now feeling a little better, he quickly stood up and saw there were many terrorists spread around the school. Without wasting much time, he moved along the running crowd and took his bike's keys in his hands. His mind was only preoccupied with the thoughts of Luna being in danger. As he was moving along the hall, he went inside an empty classroom and hid for a while. He waited for the crowd to become a little thin, and in the meantime unbuckled his gun holster, ready to use his gun when necessary. I can't use my gun without alerting them. Should have asked Dad for a silencer as well. No time to think about this. Firstly, I need to find Luna as soon as possible. Damian looked outside the door sneakily. Seeing a masked man about to pass by the classroom he was in, he waited for the right opportunity. Just as the man reached near the door, Damian moved quickly and silently. In a practiced way, he grabbed the man's mouth from his left hand and started stabbing the keys in his neck repeatedly using his right hand. Gurgle, gurgle. The terrorist's eyes went wide as he struggled for the chance to live. He tried screaming, but only the sound of the blood gushing out from his throat was heard. As the man went limp, Damian dragged him back inside the classroom. With cold eyes, he took the knives from his body. He didn't take the gun since he had one of his own. As he moved along the hallways of the school, he repeatedly took the lives of the enemies without showing any mercy. His actions were smooth and graceful, like an artist who put years into his art. He also saw some bodies of teachers while moving towards the classroom where his sister went. His eyes became more and more cold, and his actions became more and more ruthless. He stabbed their eyes, cut off their hands, carved their bodies in more and more painful ways. He wanted to give them the taste of death in the most painful way possible. Even though he didn't personally study from the teachers he saw lying dead on the ground, he knew each and every one of them. And knowing they died protecting students just like his own sister, it filled him with intense anger and fear of losing his sister. I need to be faster. Soon after silently killing 3 more enemies, he reached his destination. But no students were now present in the classroom. Just some dead bodies. With a steel heart, he went through each body and was relieved to see his sister was not one of them. As he was checking the bodies, he lost his focus for a few seconds. He failed to notice a masked man slowly moving behind him. Just when he regained his focus and looked behind him, the man had already moved his knife towards his back. Arg! Damian moved reflexively to the side, but was still stabbed on the side. Both the men started fighting, holding their knives. No words were exchanged. Only pure raw killing intent was exchanged through their gazes. As wounds were exchanged, Damian managed to incapacitate his enemy in the end. Holding the man by his hairs, Damian removed his mask. Tell me where the students are. They are gathered in the most spacious area we could find, in the seminar hall on this floor. The man smiled as looked defiantly at Damian before continuing. But that's not for you to worry about, kid. Unlike me, those taking hostages are all at least E rank awakened. You wouldn't be able to handle them. He chuckled, laughing at the kid playing hero in front of him. Damian didn't say anything. He took his knife and started to carve the right eye of that man while holding his mouth shut. MMPH. The man tried to scream, but no voice left his mouth. He realized soon enough. The kid standing in front of him was no hero. He was more of a criminal than he was. He tortured in a practiced way and didn't ask anything. He just kept torturing more and more. His only remaining eye was filled with pleading sentiments. When Damian moved his hand away from the terrorist's mouth, the man tried screaming, but before he could do so, his tongue was caught by a hand. No. Looking up, his eyes met those cold eyes, staring into his own, almost as if daring him to scream. Without waiting for the terrorist to react, Damian cut his tongue out, watching him control his voice and rolling on the ground. Pain filled his mind, but he could not scream. He feared if he screamed, the devil in front of him would carve him out before any of his comrades could rescue him. He saw the devil reach out his hands towards a notebook and pen lying on the ground and throwing them at him. He flinched reflexively, but still caught them. Write the total number of your allies present in the seminar hall and their ranks. Nodding hurriedly, he wrote down the details faster. He even wrote the total number of enemies present in the whole school. As soon as he finished, he looked up, only to see his own back. I hope he won't kill. His thoughts came to an abrupt halt as his head hit the ground. Damian lifted the notebook and saw the information written by the man. 4 terrorists left on this floor. Seems like I took everyone else out already. Even though the man mentioned 4 of his allies present in the seminar hall, he didn't trust it. And from the information, it was mentioned only 2 were E-rank experts. The other 2 were at F rank like everyone else he killed. He went straight to the seminar hall and held his gun in one hand for the first time. He opened the door a little to get the grasp of the situation inside. Inside the seminar hall, all the students who were present on this floor, alongside the teachers who survived, were cowering on the ground. They were powerless to resist. All the teachers who taught in the school were low-rank experts. They could handle 1 or 2 E-level experts on their own, but the terrorists came in great numbers. If they made a move against one of them, the other would open fire on the students who were vulnerable to defend themselves. So all they could do was shield the students and stand in front of them. Not to mention the students, even they could not dodge bullets based on their abilities. At most, they could harden their skin. Hushed crying voices could be heard in the seminar hall, reflecting the panic and trauma induced in the students from this incident. Miss Elliot, they shot Ronnie. Our Ryan is dead. What should we do? They will kill us just like they killed Mr. Patrick. I don't want to die. Benny died protecting me. I should be the one to die. Mutterings like this were spread around the seminar hall. Everyone, students and their teachers alike, were filled with panic. Sorrow and grief was thick in the hall. Silence. A masked terrorist who acted like the leader shouted loudly in an angry voice. If there is even a little voice from your mouth, we will fucking shoot you in the face. Look at all of you. You look at us as if we are monsters. But who is the real monster? Just because we killed some of your friends and teachers, are we the so-called monsters? What about the Federation who stole all the equality rights from the citizens? No more equality, no more laws, just a group of rich and powerful families dictating everything based on talent. Their kids, when born with poor talents, could get the resources from them to make up for their lack of talent. But what about all the poor kids, all the lower and middle-class people? All we get is a future where we can't decide on our own what path we can take. All the good jobs, all the power, all the high positions in organizations goes to the talented ones. You think we will just wait to be starved, wait to be left with no choice but to spend a life filled with poverty? Or just choose to be the dogs for them? No, we will have equal rights for every single damn person on this earth, just like how it used to be. By the time the leader of the armed terrorists finished speaking, the seminar hall was filled with deafening silence. Everyone was terrified of what he might do to them. What does all this have to do with us students? Everyone among the hostages were horrified to find Luna standing up. Mrs. Ariel, who was the homeroom teacher of Luna's class, was shocked before she stood in front of her student in a hurry. Please forgive her. She didn't mean that. She is just traumatized. In a hurry, she apologized to the man before speaking to Luna. "Sit down." Luna remained standing. No panic was visible on her face. Her face remained expressionless with no sign of fear shown in her eyes. "No, no, 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 it's all right. It's completely all right. Yes, you girl, come forward in front of me. I really like your question. It is a very valid response to whatever I said." Luna stepped in front of the man, despite her teacher urging her not to. "Now, go on. I would like to hear whatever you have to say. Everything you mentioned has nothing to do with us. We are just students. We can never decide all these things. And taking us hostage will change nothing. Instead of this, you could protest or file a case against the Federation." The leader remained silent for a long time, before chuckling alongside the other 7 terrorists present. "Yes, there are a total of 8 terrorists present in the hall, with 2 each standing in front of the 2 entries, and the rest of the 3 standing behind the leader." The information provided to Damian was indeed wrong. All of the terrorists kept laughing until the leader replied, "Case, haha, you're just kids after all. But one thing is right indeed. Nothing will change after just taking hostages once. But what if there were more and more of such cases? We will keep on taking hostages. Killing innocent people will make them buckle up in the end. It is just a matter of how much can the Federation really take. They are, in all essence, a governing body, so they will eventually have to bend their knees to our wishes if they don't want more and more instability on Earth. But never mind all this, you should worry more about your own life. Don't you remember what I just said?" As soon as the man finished speaking, he pointed his gun at Luna's head before speaking again. "If there is even a little voice, we will shoot you in the face." Bang, 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 bang. Damian peeped through the door of the seminar hall. But just as he opened it a little, he moved back quickly. 2 terrorists were standing just behind the doors. But thankfully, they were paying attention to the hostages and didn't notice him. He saw the situation inside the hall through the little opening. There were 4 terrorists at the front, with their leader seemingly giving a speech. They kept 2 men in front of this door. There is another door, so let's assume 2 men are there as well. A total of 8 terrorists in total, with all of them radiating E-rank auras. True enough, that guy fed me the wrong information. He tightened his hand on the knife and placed the gun inside the holster for now. But just when he thought he should wait for the better opportunity, he saw his sister standing up and yelling at the terrorists. "Oh, for God's sake, bang, 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 bang." Multiple gunshots rang inside the seminar hall as everyone covered their eyes, not wanting to see Luna being shot at point blank. AHH. But what followed was the scream of the terrorist leader. Opening their eyes, the scene before them left them unable to believe the reality it presented. All the terrorists except their leader were lying on the ground with wide open eyes. And the leader was holding his hand while screaming in agony. "Brother!" It was Luna's voice that brought them back from their daze. Their eyes followed Luna as she ran and hugged a man standing at the entrance, whose clothes and hairs were dyed with blood. The man stood there while holding a gun pointed at the leader. So it was him. Everyone came to the same conclusion in their minds, that the bloodied man was the one who took down all the terrorists alone, before they could even react. Luna stood in front of the terrorist leader with his gun pointed at her head, waiting for her inevitable end. Her thoughts flashed back to her brother. Ever since Luna could remember, she had called him her brother, as it should be. But when she grew up, she found herself really not wanting to address him as her brother. She didn't know why she felt like this all of a sudden, but she just didn't like it. It's not like we are related by blood or anything. Ever since she got to know this fact, nothing really changed for her. She still loved him the same like she always did. But she started feeling flustered around him. She was more and more confused, so she just stopped thinking eventually. But yesterday morning, for the first time, she saw her brother radiating so much negativity and loneliness. She realized her brother really had changed like her parents told. He was still himself. She could see his emotions towards their parents, and her own self remained the same, if not, became even more intense. But all the happiness he used to exude was shredded to pieces. All she could see now was red and black color, which represented negative emotions. She could see all of this thanks to her innate skill. Luna was born with an innate skill which let her see a person's emotions. Thanks to this skill, she could always make wise decisions. So when she saw her brother feeling so lonely, she couldn't help herself and hugged him when they finally got some alone time while riding the bike. There was a lot she wanted to say to him, but she didn't know how to put it into words, so she ended up murmuring about him being more attractive by the time she finished. Thankfully, he didn't hear that. Just thinking about that time, even now, made her cheeks pink from embarrassment. As she was still in her thoughts, the cold muzzle of the gun now pressed against her head woke her up from her thoughts. The reason Luna stood up and voiced her thoughts in front of this man earlier was because she saw the killing intent swimming in his emotions. She knew he would kill someone, so she stood up to be the one to take it. She was no hero, but all those who were present were her friends and respected elders. She didn't want to lose anyone. I don't want to die, but better me than anyone else. Filled with fear and uncertainty, she closed her eyes and awaited her end. I'm sorry, brother. It was at this moment the gunshots rang inside the hall. Not feeling anything for some time, she opened her eyes in daze before taking in the scene before her eyes. Then she gazed towards the entrance where he stood panting, holding the gun aiming in her direction, and his face filled with blood. The two terrorists guarding the door were still in the midst of falling to the ground around him, holding their throats. Brother, Luna yelled as she ran straight to her brother. Tears gushed forth like a flood from her eyes as soon as she hugged him tightly. Feeling his fast heartbeat and his arm around her, all her suppressed emotions came out as she cried like a child in his arms. It's all right, I'm here now. Damian was finally relieved to see his sister safe and sound in his arms. Earlier, he had stormed through the door faster and cut the necks of the two terrorists standing there quickly before pulling out his gun and firing 6 bullets in a row. He shot as fast as possible and made sure to kill every single one of the enemies present except the leader himself. He only shot his hand holding the gun, looking at the man still screaming and rolling on the ground. Damian moved slowly towards him while holding Luna's hand. All the students and teachers remained silent, feeling the oppressive atmosphere accompanying the man who looked very scary right now with all that blood on his face, clothes, and hairs. When he arrived in front of the man, he knelt in front of him before looking at Luna. Close your eyes. Knowing the darkness her brother was exuding, Luna was worried but still closed her eyes. Damian couldn't care less for everyone else who was looking at what he was about to do. He only cared for his sister and didn't want her to witness a gore sight just yet. Even though many bodies were lying on the ground, all of them died from either being shot or had their throats cut. Everyone present could stomach this much. But when Damian shoved his hand in the leader's throat and cut off his tongue and threw it out in the open, everyone couldn't handle the scene and started looking away. Some even started vomiting. Even the bravest of the present people couldn't help but feel a chill down their spine as hoarse screams of the terrorist rang out again and again, begging for Damian to stop. But Damian didn't stop. He started with the tongue, then he took out both the eyes and crushed them with his foot. He then cut off his ears slowly, making sure the man who pointed a goddamn gun at his sister would suffer more. He would make sure to give him hell before he could die. Please hold on to your life and don't die before I finish. After finishing with the ears, he moved towards the fingers of the remaining hand of the man. His right hand that was holding the gun was already blown off when Damian shot him. Time seemed to pass slowly. Hoarse screams continued ringing inside the hall. The leader of the terrorists now laid there on the ground with his tongue gouged out, eye sockets empty, ears cut off and tendons removed. He laid there in his pool of blood and piss. But Damian was still not satisfied. He is still alive, let's continue. But before he could continue, he felt his sister's hand on his shoulder. When he looked back at her, he saw her eyes still remained closed. Brother, let's stop, please. Looking at her pale face, Damian realized it was time to take her out of this place. When he looked around, he saw some students and teachers vomiting their guts out. He saw the fear everyone had in their eyes when they looked at him like he was a monster. That fear was more than the one they had for terrorists. The school where Luna currently studied and Damian used to study was named after their city. Norrington School. In the current Earth Federation, every city had a school which was backed by the government. The wealthy and the poor all hoped their kids could enter a school backed by the government before they could move to academies later on. These schools represented safety and status. So when it became known that Norrington School was attacked by a terrorist organization, all the parents were shaken and rushed towards the school. Students of many powerful people of the city studied there. The Federation government responded fast, and their security forces had already entered the school, neutralizing any threats to student safety. By the time Damian finished dealing with the leader, almost all the terrorists present elsewhere in the school were already killed. The doors of the seminar hall opened with a burst, scaring all the students and teachers present. When they saw it was the security forces, along with some of the powerful rankers among the parents who had rushed as fast as they could, all of them finally relaxed. And then all hell broke loose again. Cries of students and teachers, the grieving parents, and the grieving family members swept through the whole school. Leading the security forces were powerful figures who were high-ranked experts. Most of them were around rank B, with only one being rank A. When the security forces saw the dead bodies of the terrorists and the condition of their leader, who was half dead, even they were shocked. Along this floor, they already saw gruesomely killed bodies of the masked men lying around. But they were still not prepared to see the state of their enemy like this. They surrounded the area and moved the students and teachers out the room. Not one of them came to express their gratitude towards Damian. Only Mrs. Ariel remained inside the room, looking at Damian with complex emotions. She was his homeroom teacher as well when he used to study in the school. When the security forces pointed their weapons at Damian and Luna, who was being embraced by him, she rushed in between them and hurriedly clarified the situation. Don't, he was the one who saved all of us earlier. He took out all the terrorists alone. A man who almost resembled a bear with thick muscles and wide body stepped out from among the security personnel. We can see that, but the way he handled the situation. His gaze moved towards the terrorist lying half dead on the floor. Even with his experience on the field, he was appalled by the state of these terrorists that were on this floor, especially the leader. Hearing the hoarse voices being muttered by the half-dead man, he felt a shiver run down his spine. Then he looked at the source of all this. He is just a kid. With complex emotions, the man took out aura-blocking cuffs from his pocket and moved towards Damian. Although I know you were the one who saved the hostages, due to protocol, I will have to take you into custody temporarily given the nature of the situation. Please don't resist, while we place you under temporary restraints." Luna was about to say something, but before she could say anything, another voice rang out first. "You will place no such restraints on my son." Alaric arrived before the officer and placed his hand on his shoulder. Completely immobilized, the man started sweating. "Fuck, since when was there a guy so damn powerful in this city? I can't even mobilize my aura now." All the security forces behind him pointed their weapons at the unknown man, who just teleported out nowhere. "Stop!" The bear-like man yelled at his subordinates before looking at the newcomer. "It is just a protocol. We need to take the testimonies of all those present on site, but your son's case is a bit special. So we have to move him to the Special Forces Department for investigation and his own testimony. We won't harm him. I don't give a damn about your protocol. I'll be taking my son back home." "It's all right, Dad. I will go to the department on my own. No need for these aura blockers, though. I'm just an F rank." Without waiting for anyone to say anything, Damian started to walk towards the officer and said, "Let's go. Special Forces Department." Inside a sealed-off room meant for investigating criminals, Damian sat waiting. He was seated alone here, as SFD officers needed to take testimonies of all the witnesses, and they also needed to check the CCTV footage. "It will take them a long time to take all the testimonies. Let's get some rest." He didn't get any rest last night as well, and now all this. Not to mention he was still injured. Bleeding had stopped thanks to his improved vitality stats. But he still needed treatment for those injuries. As Damian felt the fatigue finally take over him, he closed his eyes. Flashes of everything that happened came to his mind. The way he gruesomely killed the terrorists, the torture he inflicted on the leader, and his indifference towards having blood on his hands. "It was the first time I killed someone in this life, yet it came so naturally to me. It seems I have changed much more than I thought." Did he feel any regret for killing? No, it was either them or me. Did he feel any regret for torturing the leader? Hell no, I only wish I could continue more. Thinking all this in his mind and comparing it to the old him, he came to a conclusion soon enough. Yup, I was indeed a psycho in my past life. I should tone it down a little. But it seems I was needlessly more violent now. Alessio would use these means to get the information needed from his enemies. But he would never do it for no reason. He was very calculative and ruthless. But the current Damian seems to have transformed into a monster. The torture of the terrorist in his sister's classroom could be described as the way Alessio worked. But the torture of their leader was purely emotional. He wanted to make sure that son of a bitch suffered. I guess I don't dislike this new me. Whoever dares to even think about harming my loved ones should die a horrible death. But I should make sure to always keep calm. These emotions are detrimental if not controlled. Just like in the classroom. Seeing those bodies and assuming Luna had met a worse end, he lost his focus for a few seconds and ended up getting stabbed. Damian soon fell asleep after reflecting on his mistakes. He didn't know that all his actions were under scrutiny by the officers gathered outside the room. The officer, who resembled a bear, was right now standing behind a woman whose aura was making everyone around her have a hard time breathing. Even though she was restraining herself, some of it still leaked out from time to time. Her name was Ashley Blackheart. She was a S-rank awakened and one of the most powerful officers of SFD. The Norrington incident had created massive outrage among the higher authorities of the Federation. Hence, they immediately dispatched Ashley to handle the situation. "Is that all?" "Yes, ma'am. All the testimonies we have gotten so far clearly mean Damian Alaric was acting alone." Brian Olaf, the officer with the bear-like physique, was the one briefing Ashley after she arrived. "Any criminal records on him?" Officer Blackheart asked Brian Olaf once she heard everything. "None. Him." Ashley was suspicious about the past of Damian Valcor. The way the dead bodies were found, and the testimonies all indicated that the ways used by him were far too practiced and criminal in nature. "Is the CCTV footage ready yet?" "Yes, ma'am. Just 1 second." Brian gestured towards his subordinates who started playing the videos from all cameras on a large screen. And then the horror of Damian was revealed. All the SFD officers gathered were watching the videos intensely. They played everything in slow motion, captured each angle, each fight, each kill, and each moment where Damian escaped from the clutches of death. Hushed whispers rang among the crowd. Surprised, awed, scared. This was just a 15-year-old kid. A kid who hadn't even joined an academy. None among those present could replicate the same results if they were in his position. It was just too perfect. The main thing about Damian was not his power, stats, or skills. Nor was it his ruthlessness. It was the way he fought. He used everything as a weapon. I can't believe he made his first kill with just some damn keys. So ruthless, he kept stabbing till the man stopped moving. No matter how I see it, this is clearly not his first time killing someone. Hearing the conversations happening among their subordinates, Ashley and Brian meaningful exchanged glances. Clearly, they had also come to the same conclusions from the videos. The videos kept playing till they saw Damian making a mistake for the first time and showing some emotion. "That's his sister's classroom." Hearing Brian say that, Ashley understood what happened. So, he is not a complete psycho. He still has emotions for his family members. Then the video shifted to the torture of the terrorist, who took advantage of Damian's momentary lapse of focus. At this point, even many officers started feeling uncomfortable with the amount of gore. They saw how he tortured the man and then took information out of him. Motivated by logic and reasoning, every action he took instilled a sense of fear in the enemy. No questions were asked by Damian at first. He made the enemy helpless, somehow made it seem like his life had no value. Driven by desperation, the enemy provided information, albeit it being slightly false, trying to show his value. He wrote everything down, in the hope he will be left alive to be made further use of later. Ashley kept profiling Damian as she kept watching the footage. A profiler was at her side, writing everything down. Classic interrogation tactics taught in the SFD. Brian pitched in, and all officers present nodded. They had learned many tactics in SFD. But they couldn't implement them on humans. These tactics were meant to be used on monsters. Soon they saw Damian cut the terrorist's head off with no change in his expression. Ashley was starting to realize she didn't like this kid. All the behavior and ways Damian used were criminal through and through. Then the footage showed how he killed the terrorists gathered in the seminar hall. And soon they saw the horrifying way the footage ended. No one spoke anything. They already knew what was going to happen. They had seen the condition of the half-dead leader of the terrorists. Ashley's face was a mixture of many emotions. She took in a shuddering breath, trying to calm her emotions. Then she, alongside all others, looked inside the room where the culprit of all this sat, sleeping. "Never mind, he is a pisco." Looking at the officers who couldn't keep their composure, she moved her gaze to Brian. "Let's go meet with him. His father also doesn't seem to be a simple man. We can't keep him for long." Brian nodded with a solemn face. He remembered clearly how he was completely immobilized by that man when he put his hand on his shoulder. While the officers were busy profiling Damian and taking testimonies. Damian had long gone, since entered a dream in his sleep. In the dream, he saw two small children in a dark alley. They looked malnourished and were fighting with rats for food. The older one amongst the two managed to snatch the food from a rat and handed it to the younger one. "Eat it." Looking at the smile on the face of the older one, the younger one also smiled and started eating. Damian saw everything. He who had everything from his childhood could not help but feel sad. He saw how the older kid sneakily picked up dirt from the ground and ate it in one gulp to make his stomach full. Days passed, then one day, a rich man came to the alley with his bodyguards. "Let's have fun with this one here. Fits my taste completely, heh." The rich man laughed as he ordered his men to bring the older kid to him and throw the younger one to the side. He then took out his knife and started to have his fun. He took out the eyes of the older kid as he kept on begging the man for mercy. Then he cut off his tongue and threw it aside. Then came the ears and tendons. Damian was horrified. All of this matched his own actions that he had just performed. How is this possible? What is this dream? Who are these kids, and how did I end up using the same methods as this man? I clearly acted based on my knowledge of the human anatomy I read in class. I wanted to inflict as much pain as possible to my enemies. It is just a coincidence. As all these thoughts were going on in his mind, his emotions became more and more complex as he watched the kid get tortured and murdered. He felt uncomfortable. All of this was happening to a child who looked no older than 6. As the rich man had his fun, he alongside his bodyguards drove their car away, leaving both the kids alone. The younger kid watched all this happen while crying and shouting. He was probably 3 years old and didn't understand what was happening. But he saw how his brother was in pain. He came closer to where his big brother was. "Be wuthers, why you not move? Why that man hit you? Don't CWI. It's alright, I'm where Noah." Looking at the kid saying all this, Damian's eyes were filled with tears. He could not describe how he felt right now, as the dots were starting to connect in his mind. The older kid heard the voice of his little brother and raised his right hand with no fingers left. He tried to reach out. He tried feeling his dear brother for the last time. With no eyes, he could not see him. With no tongue, he could not talk with him. With no fingers, he could not comfort him. Asio she I've happy, G power, G moi ayao alessio stay alive, live happily, get power, get money I love. The younger kid didn't understand much of what was said. He only heard one word correctly. Power. Damian understood everything. Tears were already pouring down his cheeks. He came closer to the younger kid and saw his face clearly for the first time. "It's me." It was said that the human brain had a so-called last self-defense mechanism. When we are in so much pain that we can't bear to live, our brain will erase the reason behind the pain from our memories. It will make it seem like it never happened at all. Maybe it was because of that self-defense mechanism. Damian completely forgot the dream he had when he was sleeping. Banged. He woke up confused to the sound of a notebook being splashed on the table. Opening his tired eyes, he saw a tall woman with long black hair and wearing a black leather jacket and jeans sitting right in front of him with her arms crossed. "Mr. Damian Valcor, I'm Ashley Blackheart, an officer of SFD. I am here to talk with you about what happened today, and to get your testimony and the motive behind your actions." Ashley spoke first, introducing herself in a formal way. Damian eyed the officer seated in front of him and the officer standing behind her. "A motive?" "Yes, Mr. Valcor. Perhaps you might want to explain why the unnecessary torture of the leader was committed by you. We understand your motives behind the killing and torture of the previous terrorists, but torturing the leader after incapacitating him and making sure he could not speak or participate in further interrogations was completely unnecessary. We could have gotten so much important intel about the organization behind this group. We could have found more about their allies that might be hiding. We could have also investigated how they managed to hide all these activities from security personnel and launch an unprecedented attack like this. But you left him in no state to answer anything. Damian adjusted the way he sat on the chair. His face and clothes were covered in blood, and his red eyes and hair made it a very chilling sight when he smiled. With one leg resting on the other and his right hand holding his chin as he leaned against the chair, Damian kept his silence for some time. Brian and Ashley's complexion was starting to become solemn, and just when Brian opened his mouth to say something, Damian replied, "What are you trying to say, officer? We have suspicions regarding your involvement in all this." Funny. Instead of being thanked for saving everyone, I have somehow become a suspect. We are not saying you are a suspect, Mr. Valcor. You see, there are many points I can make that show how suspicious you are. Go ahead. Damian waved his hand as his smile never wavered. Ashley gestured toward Brian to stop the official recording before speaking. This was your first time killing someone, according to the data we have gathered. Yet you killed in a very practiced way. I had just survived a bomb blast, and there were enemies running around killing people. The last thing on mind would be to show mercy. As for why I was calm despite it being my first time killing someone, maybe because it was the adrenaline or the fact that my sister was in harm's way. I couldn't care less about the terrorists I was killing. The way you killed and tortured, everything is like how a criminal would do. And make no mistake, I have many years of experience catching criminals. So tell me, are you a criminal? No, next question please. How did you learn all of this? Human anatomy. This is not a joke, Valcor. Answer me truthfully. Everything you did could only be done if you had practiced all this before. I learned about the things that can cause intense pain in human anatomy, and I applied it. Why did you leave the leader half dead? Damian remained silent after this question. Gone was the smile from his face. If I had enough time, I would have tortured him even more. The man had the audacity to point a gun at my sister. I don't care for the laws or humanity. If someone tries to put their hands on my family, they would beg to be handed over to SFD. I will be completely honest with you, officer. If even the high authorities of the Federation tried to harm my family, I would make sure to do the same to them. Ashley, with a furious face, started releasing her aura, but seeing no change in the expression on Damian's face, she retracted it. Mind your words, Valcor. These statements are quite treasonous. Instead of doing your jobs correctly, all you can do is try intimidating a 15-year-old. That's what SFD is all about. You couldn't stop the attack, and yet here you are, accusing the one who did your job. I have to say, I'm quite disappointed with the SFD. You guys didn't even provide me with medical treatment when I came willing for your interrogation. Let's end this farce here. I'm tired and you have no grounds to keep me here. If you have any evidence against me about my involvement with the terrorists, go ahead and arrest me. If not, then think with your brains if you have any in the first place. My own sister was about to die, and you find me suspicious. Before Damian finished speaking, he had already stood up. He walked out of the door, leaving Brian and Ashley pale-faced. Brian hesitated before opening his mouth. He is right. I don't think you should have accused him from the start, ma'am. I'm not dumb, Brian. I know he was not involved with this group. But then how do you describe all this? Ashley pointed towards the CCTV footage, as both of them also stepped out of the room. Even if he is not connected to this group, there are still many organizations in the world. Just look at his record, all his data. Do you find any similarities between the data given and the person you just saw? Did he look like just another bored kid waiting to join the academy? Everything described in the data is completely wrong. His behavior is completely different. There are no criminal records. Everything is just too fucking clean. Brian was starting to realize why his superior was so much serious about this. The kid has been sent an invitation by Stormhold, but the reason for the invitation is described as theoretical excellence. Nothing about his physical results was as impressive as he displayed. True, he might have started breathing exercises, but only a day has passed since the results were announced, and he accepted the invitation. Nothing makes sense. It is like this Damian is a completely different person from the one who is described in the data. And the main reason I'm thinking so much about all this is that this kid managed to kill 67 terrorists, their entire main force, all by himself when he was just an F-rank awakened. If he really is connected to some sort of criminal organization, we would regret not taking any action in the future. Things are becoming very chaotic in the last few years, and monsters are also behaving differently. The higher-ups are worried. If things really go south, then maybe these criminal organizations would be the first ones to join hands with our enemies. All the officers hearing the conversation between Brian and Ashley were also wearing solemn faces now. After a brief silence, Ashley spoke again. Send everything we discovered to the Federation and Stormhold Academy. And make sure to remove the records of Damian Valcor being present in today's incident. Also, send a request to make his data classified as rank S. Knock knock. Just when she finished speaking, there was a knock on the door, and another officer entered. We have found the name of the organization behind the attacks. It is the Shadow Council. Everyone's complexion became gloomy as soon as the name of the organization was spoken. As Damian stepped outside the SFD building, he saw his father standing there and waving at him. He also noticed that the sky had started to darken. As he stepped closer to him, without wasting any time, he stepped inside their car. Alaric also sat in the car and started driving before opening his mouth to speak. They didn't do anything illegal inside, did they? Not really, just asked some random questions. I see. After this, there was no talk and the ride was very awkward. And at some, Damian opened his mouth again. Where are we going? To your uncle's place. Your mother and sister are there waiting for you. You have some injuries, and given the nature of today's incident, it's best to get your treatment done quietly. The uncle Alaric was talking about was his younger brother, Sebastian Valcor. He was a scientific genius in the medical field. He was a rank expert who had learned many skills related to the medical field and was behind many recent medical breakthroughs. In the current world, despite the addition of magical elements and aura, science also evolved. Many breakthroughs and inventions were happening every day, and it seemed like a golden era for research and development. It was thanks to scientists and their inventions that humanity was able to fight the monsters head-on. In simple words, scientists were like celebrities now. But his father didn't get along well with his younger brother due to some reason, but that did not mean there was any hatred between them. In the past 15 years, they only met a few times. As Damian was immersed in his thoughts, the car came to a stop. We have arrived, let's go inside quickly. I'm sure you must be quite hungry as well. As soon as Damian and Alaric stepped inside the house, they saw Lyandra and Luna sitting with a lean, bespectacled man on a sofa. Brother! As soon as Luna saw Damian, she sprung up from the sofa and came running towards her brother. But as she got closer to him, instead of hugging her, he slapped her hard across her face. Slap! The slap was so hard, Luna fell to the ground with her hairs covering her face. "Damian! Damie!" Alaric and Luna both shouted at him, appalled as to why he slapped his sister. From his childhood till now, Damian never raised his hand against her. Yet now he did it, and with so much force. As they were looking at him, expecting him to explain, he looked completely tired and spoke in a voice filled with fatigue. "Just see the CCTV footage of the incident. I know you must have gotten hold of it from the SFD as well." As soon as he finished speaking, he moved straight towards Sebastian, who was moving his eyes everywhere, as if to avoid looking at the family drama. "I am quite injured, uncle. Let's go to your clinic room." "Ah yes, let's go. It's really good to see you after so many years, Damie." As if he just found some excuse to escape the awkwardness, Sebastian hurriedly led his nephew to a quiet room. "So many wounds. You really had a tough day, huh?" "It was quite all right." You have really changed a lot since the last time I saw you, but I think it's for the better." Damian didn't know what his uncle meant by the change being better, but he was too tired to care. "Let's remove the scars as well." "No, don't remove them." Ahem. Sebastian tilted his head in confusion to this sudden request before speaking. "But it won't take much effort to remove them using my skills, you know. Not to mention, you have quite an ugly scar on your face as well." Damian looked at himself in the mirror given by Sebastian. There was a scar that stretched from his forehead on the left side of the face to his left eyebrow. He looked quite menacing with this new addition. He probably got this scar when he was knocked against the wall head first during the bomb blast. "It's fine. I want to keep the scar as a reminder to be alert all the time." That was not the main reason he wanted to keep it. Damian wanted to keep the scar till he killed every single member of the organization responsible for this attack. It will serve as the reminder that he was nothing more than an ant. An ant so small that even the lowest dregs of society managed to harm. His eyes emitted a cold light as his mind was filled with vengeful thoughts. Ever since Damian has got his past memories, he found himself becoming more and more vengeful day by day. Sebastian just shrugged his shoulders before bringing him something to eat. After that, he was left alone in that same room. Status: name Damian Valcor. Age 15. Rank F. Talent S. Core attributes: Strength 12 right arrow 15. Speed 13 right arrow 17. Stamina 15 right arrow 19. Vitality 20 right arrow 22. Aura F. Will 120 right arrow 129. Skills: Shooting C plus right arrow B. Hand combat B. Aura control E right arrow E plus. Weapon arts. Training was after all just training. Looking at the impressive change in his stats and skills, Damian now knew one more way to get power. He needed to get proficient in manipulating bullets using his mind as well. Today's incident taught him the value of guns in this world. It was no less than the value of other weapons. Every weapon was in the end a means to display your power. But soon Damian's mind was filled with thoughts of Luna. Sigh. The reason he slapped her was obvious. Standing in front of the hostages, raising voice against the leader, becoming an intentional target. He would be a fool to not guess her thoughts. She wanted to save others and didn't want them getting killed. So she chose to die herself. Others might not come to the same conclusion looking at the footage, but Damian knew. He knew her the best in this world. She is too damn good for this world. As his thoughts were restless, Damian found himself not being able to train at all. Just as he was getting frustrated, the door of the room he was resting in opened and Luna, with her head down and eyes puffy, entered. She stood there, not moving an inch. "Come here." Luna flinched at the cold voice, but still came closer to him. "Sit down." As Luna sat down in front of him, Damian reached out his hand, grabbed her by her collar and brought her face closer to his face. As their faces were so close that they felt each other's breath, he spoke in a very low voice. "You know, ever since I regained my memories, I didn't know how to express myself, so I acted. I acted just like my past self, but you saw through it. You said I can be my true self with you, and you won't judge. But I don't even know what I have become. But there is one thing that I am not. I am not the same kind Damian who would treat you kindly for your stupid mistakes. I am not the Damian who is a fool. Just like you can see through me, I can see through you. So Luna Alaric, I will give you one last warning. If you ever dare to put your life on the line for some fools that I couldn't care less about." Damian paused for some time, and used his other hand to raise her chin, making sure she looked directly at his eyes. "I will kill each and every one of them. I will kill each and every person you tried to save by putting your life on the line. Any fool can die. Dying is easy. If you are so bloody kind, get power." Luna looked at her brother, the emotions radiating from him. She saw so much fear that it nearly overwhelmed her. She knew he was scared. He was not angry, he was scared to lose her. She diverted her eyes from his intense anger-filled ones. But Damian again forced her to look at him. Now even their foreheads were touching. She was filled with so many emotions, she couldn't even describe what she felt right now. But Damian continued. "Look at me. Listen clearly, because I will not repeat this ever again. I forbid you to die. I forbid you to leave me. I forbid you to ever do this to me again." Damian didn't know what was happening to his emotions, but he just couldn't stop. What he didn't know was that his eyes were filled with tears as he was yelling at her. Before he could continue, he found Luna's soft lips capturing his own. He froze completely. Luna's kiss was forceful. Her eyes were also filled with tears. She understood his emotions, and she wanted to comfort him. She didn't know what took over her, but she didn't stop. She kept kissing more and more. She leaned on top of him, pushing him down on the bed. Damian was still utterly stupefied. He couldn't process all this. He always thought of her as his sister and never looked at her any other way. He never imagined he would ever be in such a situation. The kiss continued for a long time before Luna pulled away. Looking at Damian's eyes, with her own filled with shyness and her cheeks red, she whispered pantingly for the first time she entered the room. "If you ever dare to hit me again, I will punish you." And then, without waiting for Damian's reply, she ran outside the room. Damian was utterly floored, his mind filled with the words Luna said. "What the?" As Damian was filled with complex emotions towards Luna, fatigue started taking hold of him. So he slumbered into his dreams which were very interesting for the first time. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and like the video and comment down if anything wrong in the story. And if have any suggestion to a new novel or want next part of any series, comment down. Our target is to get 1K subscriber. There will be SUPRISC for all of you. Stay tuned.